There we go. Alright guys, hello again everybody. This is Derek and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming in miniature video. Today's video we are going to be painting the French. Continuing on with my commission painting the French. I had pulled these miniatures out and recorded a video, a what's in the box video. And I hadn't had an opportunity to put them away yet, so I'm going to put them away before we get started. Yeah, and this morning I just got finished packing all of the packages going out this morning, so that's finished. But maybe in an hour or so, maybe before we even get started painting, maybe I should go take all those boxes out. So bear with me. So how's everybody doing this morning? Right? I didn't have a live stream yesterday because I was prepping for character creation, but also just taking a break as well. Making sure everything was, on the up and up, and printing some, we're not printing, but like saving some files, getting everybody ready for the character creation for our Traveler game last night, or character creation for Traveler. Now I do have something. I got a couple of funny bits for you. It's not really funny, but it's not disturbing. I guess it's a sign of society, I guess, or something. I don't know. But I had originally signed 7 players. When I say signed, I mean they had all accepted invites to the game. So I originally had 7 players ready to go. I personally didn't want more than 6. But I made an exception for one of them because I play D&D with him on Saturday nights, and so I figured, why not? He's somebody I already know and get along well with and stuff. So we had 7, and then he backs out. That guy I was just talking about, the guy that I made an exception for. He backs out and says, I can't do it. I got other commitments or whatever. And he backs out like a week in advance. Okay, so that's fine. That I appreciate the heads up. He's not going to be able to make it. Okay, cool. And that means I only have 6 players, so that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. And then yesterday morning, or I should say afternoon, yesterday afternoon, I get a message from one of the players saying that his work basically has called him in and he's not going to be able to make the game, or make the character creation. And he's another one of the guys that I play D&D with. So now I'm getting kind of concerned. Like, is it me? Do they know me and they don't like me? That's me being paranoid, right? And just because you're paranoid doesn't mean that nobody's after you. Okay, but either way, I go, okay, no problem, I'm not going to worry about it. Don't sweat it, I played with you before. You played actually in this campaign before we closed it down like a few years ago. So, yeah, I got no problem. I got no beefs. And so but he said, no, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm just going to back out and not worry about it. And I was like, okay. So that leaves me with 5. Okay, that leaves me with 5. And I'm like, okay, we can play with 5. That 5's not a big deal. And if I want to, I can just start throwing out some additional invites. I don't have to. I think 5's a good number. I think we can play with 5 and be happy. Actually, I was thinking that 4 is a good... Uh-oh, come on now. I'm starting to mess up here. I was like, 4 is a good amount, so we can... we can do 4, but we have 5, so everything's good. Okay, and so the time comes around, right? It's 6 o'clock. It's time to make characters. 4 people log in. The 5th guy doesn't show up. He doesn't write me a message. He doesn't say I'm not gonna be able to make it, or had a flat tire, or didn't get any kind of notification at all. It was just absence, right? Okay. So I was like, damn. Well, we got 4. We can make characters for 4, and we can drive on. And if you guys want, I can drop some more invites, and because there's a bunch of people, like at least 5 people, waiting in the wings for me to drop them an invite. So I was like, yeah, let's just move on and make characters with these 4 guys. Now, one of those 4 was the guy I mentioned previously in a video, saying that he had an issue with his voice, right? Which he sounded a lot like Kennedy sounds. If you watched any of the debates or hometowns or anything with Kennedy, Robert, I guess it's Robert Kennedy, whatever. He's got a really scratchy voice like this. That's okay. I was like, no problem. I can still understand him and everything. It's all good. And I told him, I said, I don't have any. I said this on the stream. If you go to watch the stream, you'll hear me say it. I was like, I don't have any problem with your voice being the way you have, just as long as I can understand you, which I can. So I didn't have any problems with that. I said, yeah, let's not worry about it. Let's just drive on and have a good time. And so we begin making characters, right? We start rolling dice. And then as soon as we roll all the dice for our stats, he disconnects from Discord, right? And Roll20. But he disconnects, and we're all like, oh no, he must have lost internet or something, or hope everything's okay. And I was like, yeah, so let's give him a few minutes to come back. And I started talking like lore and background and stuff like that, trying to kill time so that he would have an opportunity to come back, right? And after about 15 minutes of not coming back, I was like, well, maybe something happened and I'll get with him later or whatever. And then one of my players said, oh, he disconnected from the server. And I'm like, yeah, he probably lost power or whatever. I didn't realize what he meant by that. And then he said, no, he's left the server. And I was like, what? And so then I looked at the, because I'm the Lord of all things, I looked at the server and I was like, is this a part? Hold on. This is a tiny little, okay, that could easily be like for your shoulder, but I'm not going to glue that on somebody. Okay, V&V Miniatures. Part of that video for V&V Miniatures, I recorded the what's in the box, but I said it was going to be a two-part video. And the second part is going to be with the figures assembled and maybe even painted. Yeah. I said I was going to put them together and paint it. So I could still upload part one and then have multiple, days between the next video. But I'm in no hurry. I'm probably going to do both videos at the same time. Getting that out of the way. So he disconnected from our server, and I was like, wow, okay. So I was thinking afterwards, like this morning, I was thinking, was there something that we said that would cause him to disconnect? Was he just feeling so uncomfortable and shy about his voice, self-conscious about his voice, that he felt like he needed to disconnect? I think it's the second. I almost want it to be about us. I want it to be that we were assholes and that he disconnected. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's just weak mentally. He can't, he feels embarrassed or ashamed or something like that of his voice. He shouldn't. I mean, JFK is running for president, and he's got the same voice. I mean, they have the same voice. So this guy should not be self-conscious. Well, I can understand being self-conscious. Don't get me wrong. I'm self-conscious about a lot of things. But it doesn't stop me from living my life and doing what I want to do. If he wants to play, he should just play. And nobody, as far as I can remember, I'm trying to rack my brain, nobody in our group was or said anything to him about that. I mean, I don't think there was any time for really any conversations at all. He left super early in character creation. There was no derogatory comments or teasing or anything like that. So I don't know what his problem is. But he left, so that's fine. That just means there's other people out there that are going to have an opportunity to play. Okay, those are the ones I'm going to work on today. I've got some cab over here, 12 pieces of cab. I'm kind of holding off. They're going to be a phase 2, I think, of making these characters. I mean, of painting characters, a painting. Okay. I think we are all set. I got chat bot up and running. I've got me up and running. I've got an extra can of Monster over here in case I run thin on this, because I think I am. This is my strawberry lemonade, which is actually what I've noticed that Monster has a lot of variety of. This is like a little anecdote. Monster has a lot of variety of flavors, right? And I've experimented and tried a good number of them. I haven't tried, maybe half. I haven't tried all of them. But out of the half that I've tried, I would say 90% of them taste good. I mean, you got to understand there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of that twang from an energy drink that, uh, but it's not overwhelming. It's not like, I don't know if you guys have ever had like a 5 hour energy. Those things are nasty. Those things are nasty. But like this rehab right here, it tastes like lemonade. That's what it tastes like, with a little bit of strawberry in it. It doesn't taste like an energy drink. Okay, so we are up and running. What color am I going to work with now? What I normally do is get all the colors out that I'm going to use when I paint. And I get them prepared. Like, oh yeah, let's do these. And then I put them in an order of this is how I'm going to paint them. And there's two colors over here. I think one of them is Army Green, and the other one is Desert Uniform. Yep, that's brass. And this is one that I normally would, that's like one of the last colors. Steel and brass will be some of the last colors I paint with, so they can just get tidied up over here. Why do I have this arid earth? Hold on. See, I'm trying to remember what these, why did I pull all these colors out? Hang on. Okay, beige, brown, those are that's gonna be like muskets and stuff. So if I work my way down from, okay, what's dark blue? Okay, these are those soft caps under the bedrolls. There should be a rubber black. That's going to be boots and shakos. German gray, which is what I'm going to use for their gaiters. The army green and the okay, yeah. This is, I now remember. This is the onions or garlic, right? And then this is going to be their collars and cuffs. This is going to be their bedroll. And then these are going to be the shako covers for a couple of them that have shako covers. Right. Okay. So I think I want to do the collars and cuffs first. It's going to be the most intricate of painting. Okay, hold on. There's a couple of things that I need to think about. Yeah, the drum. I think I'm going to use buff for the drum, the impact area of the drum. I was thinking of holding off on this until after I paint the bear skins, because the plume and the little top pad area is supposed to be red. So I could do shakos and then collars. Oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do shakos first. Okay. So give me a second. Let me make sure that my chat is still working. Just putting that in there, and there it is. Okay. It is working. I'm going to leave that right there. Okay, so we're going to do the desert uniform color first. It's going to be half of the covered Shakos, and then the other half is going to be this army green. Your covered Shako can be any earth tone. There was a variation of covers, green to gray, brown to tan. So yeah, so I'm just going to basically do every other one with this brownish tan. Shouldn't be very many, maybe 8, maybe 10 covered Shakos, something like that. I don't think there's really a whole lot of covered Shakos out there on this. I tried to put quite a few just to do a good variation across the board, but I don't remember. All right, let's swap my glasses out from my normal glasses to my magnification glasses, which really aren't that much more magnification. We're looking at 2.5 to 3 or something like that. Okay, let's scoot. And let's see, who's got covered Shakos? Not these guys. I think if they've got pom-poms, they don't have covered Shakos. Okay, so no covered. No covered. Okay, these glasses are... Maybe these aren't my magnification glasses. Hold on. Maybe the glasses I put up yesterday are my mags. Look like these. Nope, no covers on there. That means they're going to be black. Okay, these are covered, but they do have a pom-pom. Except for him. He's not covered. Okay. So if you're watching and painting this morning, what are you painting? And today is the day that will live in infamy, right? December 7th, bombing of Pearl Harbor. That's today. Okay, I'm skipping a soldier. That way, it'll be randomized. Now these guys have these little brims that stick out the front of their Shakos that are going to be black because the helmet cover doesn't. I say helmet, but you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't cover the brim, so the little black brim would stick out. But if I paint it brown, like if I have a little bit of overpaint and I paint it brown, no big deal. Because black and white are the two colors that sit on top of any other color and don't lose their pigment. Black and white. All colors or no color. I'm using a giant brush because I said that. It doesn't matter if I overpaint a little bit. The only thing I'm trying to avoid is painting their hair or their face. So at the bottom of the Shaco, that's the only place that I'm really trying to keep it in the numbers. And it doesn't matter if I get a little bit on the musket or whatever, because I haven't painted the muskets yet. Okay, these guys are definitely not covered Shacos. These, I don't think any of the elites have covered Shacos. Nope. Double checking to see if there is another stick with covered Shacos. And there it is. There is another stick. And that's what I was thinking. I think I had 2 sticks out of all these with covered Shacos. So, in my Traveler game, we had 3 players make characters. I had 1 player that said his work called him in. We chatted afterwards, and I said, you didn't have to leave. We could have made a character on another day or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, we'll make a character. For some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, he thinks that I don't like him or something. Not personally, not like, not like I don't want to talk to him or I don't want to visit with him or whatever. But he thinks that I don't like him in my role-playing games. And that statement alone is not true. But there is a caveat. He has a way that he likes to play games that is not it's not I don't want to say conventional. It's not conducive, or it's not. It's kind of disrupting. That's what I mean. He likes playing characters that are disrupting, which, if you play the same character type every time you play, then you need to think about who you are in real life. Because if you play, okay, just hear me out. If you play a wizard, right, that his goal is to like study and become a knowledgeable, and anytime like you're on an adventure and you find a a scroll or a book. You want to get it and read it and study it. And okay, and you play that character and everybody, you know, moves along. And then the next time you play with another group, or you make a whole nother set of characters or whatever, you make a, you know, a fighter that is all about saving damsels in distress, and is always trying to get in the pants of the damsels or whatever. Um, and then you go and join somebody else's game, and you make a thief that likes to sneak around and trying to help the party by like spotting traps and opening locks, and you're really into that whole like sneaking around aspect and stuff. That person, the real person behind the throne, yeah, behind the character, he's probably a good person. Um, just in general, I mean, just as a stereotype, he's probably um, a well-rounded individual. Somebody, I don't mean like good versus evil. I mean good versus bad. He's probably yeah, there are two officers, one with the covered, and I mean one standing with his sword low and one standing with his sword high. I'm still only going to do one of them with this color. I'll do the other one with the green color. Um, Now, on the flip side, this is the point I'm trying to get at with this player. If he plays a character that is obnoxious, always trying to be the center of attention, whenever the party tries to do something, he runs off and tries to be helpful, but in a negative way, like he's trying to like undermine the party. Okay, a couple of these guys have got covered shakos as well. Nice. Um, and that's okay because that's an interesting character concept and design and everything. I'm okay with that, right? That's a good character. But then he makes a, and let's say he's a thief and he likes to sneak around and 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 do things in the background. And I call them thieves. I know that's not the politically correct term anymore. I mean, D&D 5th edition has changed the name of them to rogue to make it socially acceptable to be a jerk. And that's one reason why I don't play D&D, because they're trying to manipulate the psyche of the new generation of people. Okay. So this color is pretty much done. That's sweet. Desert uniform. Okay. Maybe I should put. Trying to keep them organized. Even though I think beige brown should go. Yeah, desert should be. There it is. Okay. Green. So if he makes another character, let's say he's a wizard, He says, okay, I'm going to play a wizard this time. And then the wizard becomes obnoxious, always trying to undermine the party, disruptive, then he's not playing a different character. He's playing the same character with different abilities. If that makes sense. And that says something about the player himself. The player enjoys playing this one type of character and is unwilling or unable to play a variety of different characters. There's nothing wrong with that, in that, you can't, not everybody's an acting genius or whatever. But it gets to a point where you got to at least try. I mean, that's the whole point of role playing. You're playing a role. You're not playing yourself, or you're not playing the same character every time. Well, this person would be. You would be playing the same character every time. And my point is that this player in my game, well, he left and hopefully he comes back because I like the man personally. I think he's a good dude. I know there are people out there that have approached me, and I know this is embarrassing. I'm going to say it anyway. But there are people that have approached me about him and made jokes about him. Or snide, maybe not jokes, but snide comments or whatever. And I'm like, dude, you're off base. Like, yes, he's obnoxious. Yes, he has a certain je ne sais quoi. That's kind of disrupting and whatever. But he's still a nice guy. Just because he's not the model citizen doesn't make him a bad dude. And he made a comment to me. He said, oh, well, I thought you didn't want me in your game because I'm so disruptive. I've never said that. I've never said that. Even if I did think that, which I think he might be a little disruptive, but I'm very controlling in my games, which is a flaw, but it's also a strength. If you become out of control, I'll let you know. I'll say, hey, dude, chill. Or rein it in or something, So I have no problem with him playing that type of a character. It's just, I wish he wouldn't. But I'm not gonna stop him from playing because I like the dude. And so I said, no, man, come on, play. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll come back. I was going to play a character that was a little bit more low-key this time. And my heart just doubled in size. I was like, nice. Really hope he does. But I don't know if he will. Okay, there might be just a little bit too much water in this paint. But what's good about that, I've decided I like it. Because now what it's doing is because on white, it's making the folds of the helmet cover kind of highlight. And it's making the green on the white a little bit more gray, which is actually the color it's supposed to be. So I think it's turning out perfect, actually. I'm not going to have to go back in later and highlight these helmet covers. Yeah, and I told you guys I was going to be painting all day today and tomorrow. That's true, because I really want to put the finishing touches on these guys. I anticipate once I get the red collars and cuffs painted, those are going to be the most time consuming just because of the small nature of them. Everything else is going to fall into place like super fast. It's going to be like one of those, what do they call it? Breakwater? Like it's the flow of the paint, the painting process is slow and methodical, but once it gets to that one spot, it'll be like everything just falls into place. Speaking of that, I want to share a little history about me and breakwater. I used to live in Hawaii. Yes, I'm a Hawaiian. No, I'm not. But I'm actually a Haole. I used to live in Hawaii when I was in grade school, right? I lived there up until I was 14. Yeah. So between like 11 and 14, I lived in Hawaii. And it was fun. I loved the beach. I still love the beach. And surfing and, swimming in the ocean and all that. But being like 11 years old, you really don't, or at least I didn't know I don't know what I was doing. I didn't know what any of that. And I didn't take any classes or anything like that. So I'm out in the ocean and I'm swimming around. And I'm swimming around and I'm swimming around and I'm swimming around. And then I get to this point where, now, I'm young, dumb, full of cum and all that. And I've got energy out the wazoo because I lived in the outdoors. So endurance is not a problem. So I am swimming. I am full on swimming. Long stroke swimming. And I'm in the ocean swimming towards the beach. Straight in towards the beach. And it feels like I'm not going anywhere. I'm just motionless. I'm like, what the hell? you know? And I could tell because there's this long pier to my right that I was pretty much at the end of the pier, you know, a good distance away, maybe half a mile away, but I could see the pier, and I could see I was not going in towards the beach, even though I was swimming my ass off. I was swimming, and I was swimming, and I was swimming, and I was starting to get tired because, you know, I don't know how long I was out there swimming my ass off and not going anywhere. And then this lifeguard swims up to me, right? And he's like, "Hey, dude, what's going on? You know, are you tired? Or are you having a problem?" You know, and I was like, "Yes. What's going on?" And he's like, "Let me give you some advice and let's do this." He goes, "Follow me." And he goes, "Swim this direction." And he was not swimming towards the beach. He was swimming parallel to the beach. And I was like, "Okay, I'll follow him." He goes, "The reason why we're going parallel is because you're caught in a current and it's pulling you out to the ocean. And you got to get out of it before you can make any headway." So he says, "Here, just swim this way." And we swam that way, I don't know, 20 feet or something like that. And he said, "Okay, now I think you're out of the current. Now let's go head inland. You know, let's go land." And so we started swimming in, and all of a sudden I was making progress. That guy saved my life. I don't know his name or any of that. But I could have been swept out to the ocean. Um, Luckily, I didn't. And I was like, "Okay, now I learned something. If this ever happens again, I know what to do." When I was about 17 years old, I was in Colorado and I was skiing. And I skied off of a cliff. Yep. There's another story about being rescued there too. I'm man, I don't know. I'm in need of rescuing quite a bit. When I was in the army, I was out in the desert in the wrong place. I was with a whole bunch of other guys, so it wasn't like, and I wasn't making any decisions. I was following. But we had to be rescued. I had jinx? I don't know. I have to be rescued a lot. Actually, I think that was the only 3 times I ever needed to be rescued. I might have to sit and think about it. Was there any other times that I needed to be rescued? Okay, so the helmet covers are done. Right? Right. Hey, helmet, you know what I mean? You know what I mean. They're not helmets. Okay, I've decided I'm going to do blue. We're going to do their soft caps and everybody's rolled soft caps, I'm going to make sure that they get touched correctly and not overlooked. Now the color I'm using here is flat blue. A dark blue would probably be appropriate, but I wanted to use flat blue because it's a little bit lighter than dark blue, obviously, and it actually gives a good variation for the soft caps that's different than the dark blue jackets. Excuse me. So they've got this electric heater um, that plugs into an outlet and it generates heat. Um, that boy right here. Yeah, it plugs into an outlet and it generates heat. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I could plug one underneath my desk here. Oh, maybe this isn't big enough. Go with this guy. Yeah. Remember, you go with the biggest one to do the biggest one that's still able to provide you the detail to do the job. That's this guy. Add any water to that. Not that I need to, but I need to. Yep, that looks good. Now most of these are already dark blue. So I'm just putting a light blue line. It almost will look like a highlight. But also I correct any of the black overpaint. And when I was painting the black for the cartridge cases, I was noticing a number of these rolls, the ends or the tips were not painted properly. That was one of the reasons why I decided to go back in and do this now. So it's basically like I'm double checking my work, fixing any of those mistakes. Like this one right here, completely white on the side. Okay, those guys are good to go. And I know I'm painting like off camera, you know, but that's because I'm pulling it in nice and close to my face so I can see what I'm doing, you know. And so my glasses will focus. It's about 6 inches is where these glasses focus. Okay. I find it amazing that there's some spots that I didn't touch, you know, the first time. Like maybe I was rushing to get them done or something. But like 7 out of the 8, the sides are no problem, are good, but like one of them is missing a side. And I'm talking about these little soft caps that are rolled up underneath the ammo cartridge case. Nope, there's the second one. And a third. Really, see, I'm glad I'm doing these double checks. And any of the black that over painted is getting fixed. Not that I've got very many of that, because actually I got almost none. I think just one. So V&V, they wrote me back, um, because when I wrote them, I was like, man, these are good miniatures. I like them. I think I want to start carrying your line. They quoted me, um, the email they sent back. They quoted me the business to business rate, and you know, minimum orders and all that kind of stuff. And they've got good terms. Nothing to write home about, but really good. They have a buy more, save more kind of policy. So the more you buy, the bigger the discount, which that's okay. But to qualify for the bigger discount would be bank breaking. So I'm not going to be able to qualify for the biggest discount. It just won't happen. But it's an option, right? It's there. I'm going to put an order together in my head, you know, using a calculator and a spreadsheet probably. And I'm going to kind of see if I order how much that would actually come out to before I actually put an order together. I'm just because their policy or their rules are not, if you spend $1,000 you get this discount. If you spend $2,000 you get this discount. That's not how they do it. They have, if you order this miniature in combination with this miniature and this other miniature over here, then you get this discount. But if you order 2 of each of those and all of these miniatures, you get another discount. You know, it's like that. It's kind of a little convoluted a little bit, but it's easy to understand. I mean, it's not complicated. I just have to put it together and kind of like, so if I do order all those miniatures and I get the discount that they are offering, how much is that? You know, that's what I need to see. So I've got a poll. I think I've already activated it on the channel. So guys, if you go to the community tab and you answer the poll on my channel, that'll help me a lot. The poll is talking about basing of 28mm figures. Do you like round 25mm bases? Do you like square 25mm bases? Do you like 40mm square with like 4 figures on a base? Or do you like 60mm by 30mm rectangular bases, you know, like for Meg or DBX, Field of Glory, that kind of stuff. Now, YouTube has something called, it's new, and I'm probably gonna use it. They've got this thing called picture poll or photo poll or something like that. But basically what it means is each of your topics will have or each of your responses will have a photo attached to it. So I could take a picture of the round base, and I can take a picture of the square base, etc., the rectangular base, and I can put those in the poll. And I didn't have those pictures prepared, so I didn't do that. But I think I'm going to update the poll with pictures ASAP, actually. Just so people will understand what I'm talking about, specifically for the rectangle. The round and the square are pretty self-explanatory, because those are all single figure bases. But like Hail Caesar has a square base with 4 figures on it. And I suspect, and I'm just kind of throwing this out there, for Ancients, I suspect everybody's going to want a Hail Caesar style base. But I've done Hail Caesar bases already. I'm trying to branch out and have a variety of different bases for the store, that is. So I've got some ancients that I've already, some Britons, or maybe they're Germanics. They're basically the Celtic, the Warlord Games Celtic guys. I've got a bunch of them finished. Probably about 80 of them. Yeah, maybe 80, something like that. Maybe 100. Uh, and I was thinking about putting them on Meg bases. Right now they're on 25 millimeter squares to be used for skirmish games. But like, actually, I put them on 25 millimeter squares specifically for Oathmark because Oathmark it's a unit based game, but they're individually based because you can lose individual figures, so you just pluck the figure. And the way the modifiers work is if you got 5 in a row, you get a bonus for every additional row, every additional rank. And I was using those Celtic figures as humans because Oathmark is a fantasy game, with elves and dwarves and stuff like that. But they're not really the proper humans. The humans should be more Dark Ages and not ancient. So, I mean, they could be used for SPQR. The problem with that is they are square bases. So to put them to use for what they're actually are, I need to make them ancient. And that could be Hail Caesar, that could be Sword Point, that could be Meg, EBX. I think Sword Point uses a base similar to Hail Caesar. I think. Got like all the Sword Point rules, but never played a game of it. Because if I was going to play a game like that, I'd probably just play Hail Caesar. Sword Point is designed to be played with a much smaller army. And it's more intimate with your units. But if I'm going to play any type of ancient game, it's going to be Meg. So I pretty much have given up on Hail Caesar, Sword Point, Field of Glory. And I've gone all in with Meg. So much so that my rules that I'm writing for my Napoleonics is going to be heavily influenced by Meg. Actually, it's going to be heavily influenced by Meg and Battle Group. I like the Battle Group army morale rules. I really like that. Because it's variable. You don't just automatically lose the game when you lose half your army. That's the way Meg is. It makes it a very finite number of units. You lose this many, you lose, period. Which makes for a very orderly and defined army breakpoint. And I think that would be good in a tournament, which I don't play. I like to play scenarios or just friendly battles. And at that point, I like to have a little bit of variety in when my army is going to lose. That takes a little bit of the control out of the player's hands. Because I don't like games where the player has the all-knowing eye, where they can look down from the heavens and know everything that's going on in the game. I really don't like that. I like a little mystery, a little, variety or randomness. So the player has to decide. He has to make decisions like, is it smart to do this? Could I possibly lose? Yes, but I could possibly not lose. So it's going to be a gamble, right? We'll do it. Where if you know without a shadow of a doubt, like, if I do this, I'm going to lose. Okay, I'm not going to do that. That kind of ties your hands. It doesn't give you that authority to make bad decisions. Okay, I'm doing the soft caps right now as we speak. Because they're blue and not an earthy tone like brown or green or black, I'm paying a little bit extra attention to the edge of the hat where it touches the head. So I got this game, and it's a magic. It's not a role playing game per se, but it is. it's kind of like pick your adventure. You it's all text based, right? Um, so but with graphics, right? It's graphical. It's like a graphic novel, right? You got this story it's telling you, and then when you get to a certain spot, it'll ask you, do you go left or do you go right? Um, and I'm like really into it. I'm like digging this game. And cuz I'm not having to like constantly have my hand on the mouse pulling the trigger or running around um opening doors or plotting the destruction of the universe. I can just basically sit back and read the novel as it plays out, and then whenever there's a question or a sometimes there's a challenge. Like every now and then you'll have to click within a certain amount of time because let's say the person you're talking to drops an item and something might pop up on the screen that says grab the item or let it drop, right? And right above that, it's got a progress bar that's shrinking, and it shrinks really fast, like maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And so if you don't click in time, uh, it just defaults to you doing nothing, just standing there. So you got to keep your hand on the mouse, but you don't have to do anything with it. You could just kind of like just read whenever one of the challenges pop up, because sometimes you got to every now and then you got to click something, or if a choice comes up like do I go left, do I go right, you got to click. And every now and then it'll be open world where you can choose multiple destinations to go to, and you just click on them and go there. And it takes you there. And when you go there, then the story continues from that. So you're talking to multiple people, or you got multiple storylines going, and you have to kind of decide which one you want to progress first. And some of them say, "Meet me in the morning at the fountain," or "Meet me in the evening in the library." So those aren't really choices. You just have to go to the library or go to the fountain at those times, or they won't be there. You got to kind of pay attention to when the clues that they're giving you. Okay, so having said all of that, it's a really cool game. Um, your character thought you were going to college, right? You're a high school graduate. You're like 18 years old, and you thought you were going to college, but no, you're going or you went to a magic university where they teach people how to be wizards. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Harry Potter. There are houses, will uh, that compete against each other to earn points for their house. What do these points do? I don't know, but it's cool to say you got more points than the other house, and the characters react to you differently based on how well your house is doing. Um, okay, there's all the soft caps. Nice. Um, but there's a catch to this game that I didn't realize when I bought it. It was on Steam. It popped up. It said it was adult themed, which is fine. I play a lot of adult themed games because I'm an adult. I don't mind if there's murder or killing or whatever. That's not what they meant. You will talk to a girl in class, and she'll be nervous because her parents went missing or something like that, and she's all distraught. And like this one girl, she said that her parents got super ill, and so she went out and stole something from the fairies. Yeah, there's mythical creatures in the forest. But she went out there to barter or ask for a specific type of ingredient for a potion she was making to help her parents. But they wanted it back when she was done, because of this ingredient. It was actually a magic item or something like that. And they wanted it back, and they didn't mind her borrowing it or something like that. But she broke it in creation of this potion or something like that. And so she's all worried that these pixies or whatever were going to retaliate or, come look for her or something like that. And so you talk to her in class just because there's different people in class and you can click on them and it'll say, it'll tell you their story or whatever, because that's what it is. The game is really just a storytelling game. And so you're trying to meet everybody in the game and progress the main story, which is your story, obviously. And so I click on her, and she tells me the story about her parents and how she went to the fairies, and then she says, I'm really worried because I broke the magic item and they're going to be mad at me and everything. And she says, can we go find someplace private to talk because, I don't want to talk about this in the middle of class. And I'm like, okay, let's go talk somewhere. And we go. And then it winds up being her dorm room or something like this. And then one thing leads to another, and we're both naked, doing the nasty. And it's right on screen. I mean, there is no holding back, And I'm like, whoa, wait, what the hell's going on? I'm into it. Don't get me wrong. I'm into it, but I wasn't. When I got the game, I didn't know it was like that. I was like, oh, okay, it's one of those games. Man, I was really enjoying the game, and I still am. I still continue to play. Magic Academy or something like that. But yeah, it's actually a really good story. Keeping me what's the word I'm looking for? Not engrossed. Keeping me immersed, like drawn into the game, because you got to go to the potion class, and you gotta pick the right ingredients and mix potions to make, like invisibility potion or what was one of the potions I had to make? A protection potion, and you don't know all the ingredients, so you got to experiment. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got a really good mixture of story and like lore and all. We met some dragons. We got a sword or something from the dragons, and then when we got the sword, the the girl that I went to the dragons with all of a sudden got horny and decided she wanted to do it inside the dragon cave because that would be a unique experience or something. And I was like, okay, let's make this happen. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I like the game. I'm into like magic and fantasy and stuff like that. Not personally, like I'm not practicing magic, but like Harry Potter, you know what I mean? Okay. Okay, I'm going to use rubber black on all their shakos and bicorns and bearskins. Actually, I probably should not use the rubber black on their bearskins. I think I'm going to use the German gray on the bearskins because it's fur. It's not the black felt. It can go either way. Yep, it's going to be not the bearskin. Rubber black. And it's not the last time I'm using the rubber black because I'm going to do the boots eventually with that color as well. We can go back to a big brush because we're talking Shakos now. Um, Before it gets too late, what time is it? Is it 12 o'clock? Okay, I'm going to take a short break right now while I take my package out to the mailbox. I want to make sure I get out there before the mailman, mailwoman, or whatever it is, goes by. So give me a second. I'll be right back. I didn't realize it was this late. Back. So I'm going out to the mailbox, and I had my glasses on for painting, and I'm like, how come I can't see anything? I'm like, everything is like, well, first of all, it's really bright outside. It's a beautiful day. But everything was blurry, so I took my glasses off and I could see 10 times better. Because those were my painting glasses, not my going around and doing everything glasses. Okay. Alex, good afternoon to yourself. And Go For It is saying hello. Well, hello to you, Go For It. I saw you in the stream last night for our Traveler game. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, so at some point this afternoon, I need to put maximum effort, not maximum, I need to put an effort into adding a couple more players, or at least organizing when we're going to make the second round of characters. And if not, that's okay. We can play with 3 players. Or if James actually wants to make a character, then we need to schedule a time for him. I want to get everybody's characters finished by Wednesday so that we can actually get into the game. I'm easing myself and the players back into the Traveler universe. I made a comment how I don't want to overwhelm them with information. I don't want to do like an info dump on them. So each week I was going to drop information, lore, and stuff like that gradually. Each week at the start of the game. The downside of that is there's a lot that needs to be known for a player to just know what's going on in the universe. And if they don't get that information up front, they might miss out on some stuff. So I have to balance how much I put out and what I put out against overwhelming them. And I was telling them there's over 1,000 books written for Traveler. And if I gave you all the information, it would take me hours and hours and hours. And after about 30 minutes, you would probably fall asleep. So my plan is, doesn't mean I'm going to accomplish this, but my plan is to give them relevant information each week, plus a little bit of lore that might or might not be relevant to the current situation. And try not to do more than about 15 minutes of that at the start of the game. And I'll do that probably the first 4 or 5 games just to get them primed, with a bunch of information. And then after that, then it'll be by a need to know or by a question basis. Like, if you want to know something about starports, then just ask me. But there's a lot of people that play Traveler in different ways because these shakos are gonna take forever. Because there's a lot of different genres inside of science fiction, right? And some player might like lots of aliens. Another player might like zombie apocalypse or Star Trek style spaceships or Star Wars, political intrigue, or whatever. And so what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of different players out there that have played Traveler, but not all of them have played the same way. It's one set of rules, but there's different ways you can play it. So I want to give them the info dump up front so that they will know or be aware of how this game is being run and what I expect from them, so that there's no misunderstanding or whatever. There's also a number of optional rules. There, well, first of all, let's say this: all rules are optional, but they have a compendium that provides new rules or alternate rules. Specifically things like initiative, right? You could do it this way, or you can use the alternate way, or whatever. And I just want my players to know what to expect. And there is this rule that and this is a normal rule, where the players choose a package that it's a skill package, and based on the skill package they choose, there's a number of skills that they can learn, and they take turns picking from the package. So it'll have like 8 skills in there, and based on the package, there'll be different skills, and then the players go through and choose until all the skills are chosen. Now, these skills that are in this package, these packages were built based on the style of game that the referee's going to run. So like if it's an exploration style game, there might be an explorer's package, and then all the skills in that package would revolve around exploration. And I've decided I'm going to make my own skill package. But I didn't provide the skill package to the players last night because I feel like we don't have all the players present yet. And I didn't want to say, okay, you 3 guys can pick and choose from this, and then if a 4th player came in, all the skills are already chosen. I didn't want to do that. So during the first session of the actual game is when I'm going to provide them with the package, and that's going to be something they can work out in the first game session. And I'm going to call it the skill package. It's just going to be the skill package. And it's going to be skills that I think the party could use during this campaign. Like right now, I mean, I would have put engineering in that package because I think that every ship deserves to have an engineer. But one of the players has a lot of engineering skills, so I'm not going to put engineering in the package because it's already been basically that needed skill has already been taken care of. So what that's going to allow me to do is add a skill alternate, and like a different skill that the players might be able to use in instead of the engineering. Now, one of the players has astrogation, which is space navigation in space. But I don't think he wants to be the navigator. Can be. And I don't think anybody has steward as a skill. I don't know if they really need that skill. And I think I'm going to throw gun combat on the list. Um, just because I think they will need it. I might also throw vac suit on there. I think a couple of them have vac suit, but it's good to have more people with vac suit. And they are adventurers. I don't know. I'll have to look at the various skills. Like one guy's pretty stealthed up. He's got stealth and recon. Another guy might have deception because he was one guy was an army commando basically, and then the other guy was a intelligence officer, and the last one was Navy. Now, he was a Navy engineer that left the service and then went into the Army for one term and then came back to the Navy. Now, it was involuntary. So I think a good way to write this up is that he did cross training, or it was a like an exchange student kind of program, and maybe he was participating in that. So it's not a negative, you know. And one of the players, the intelligence uh, operative, got a number of contacts, a lot of contacts. I think 3, and a rival. Um, so I need to make some contacts and place them on various worlds. And I might look ahead at the adventure and see where they might benefit from having a contact, and then putting that contact there. Now that might give them incentive to go to these places because he's got a contact there. I've got one of his contacts already in my head. He's going to be on the planet where they're heading. And that will basically let them know why they're going to this planet. I'm going to say that this contact had contacted him and told him that he had some important information that he wanted to share, but it's sensitive in nature, and so it has to be done face to face. Being an intelligence agent, he's now an ex-intelligent agent. And one of the guys had a romantic relationship. I think I'm going to put him in touch with the princess just because I wanted somebody to have a contact with the princess, and this works out really well. I mean, she would be romantically inclined. Now it doesn't mean they're on trajectory for marriage. That's not what it means. It just means he's dated her or something like that. And the king, King Olib, the one they're working for, it's his daughter. He's going to present her to him as a trophy. He might or might not appreciate that. But he's going to offer her hand in marriage. Because that's the way they do it there on Drenax. Old school. But only if he becomes, only if their mission succeeds. It's basically going to be, he's treating it like a reward. If you succeed, you can marry my daughter. And she might or might not be appreciative of that. I'll have to dig a little deeper into how I want to treat that. But those two contacts worked out really well for the story, actually. Okay, this brush is starting to separate. I need to replenish it. when lunch comes around, which is going to be any time now, when I decide to go to lunch, I'm going to turn the camera off, go to lunch, do my thing, make my soup or whatever I'm going to be eating, and then I'll get back to painting, but I'm not turning the camera back on. I'm going to be painting the rest of the afternoon off camera. Probably once I get all these Shakos. So I've only spent about 3 hours a day painting these guys. I have not spent a full 8 hours. So 2 weeks of painting is really only about 1 week of time. So yeah, because I've been basically just analyzing in my head, am I charging enough for painting? The answer is no. I already know the answer is no. I've got incredible low prices for commissions. So starting January 1st, my commission prices are changing. I'll make an announcement once I decide what those prices are going to be. I think I've already made a Google Doc. What I think I'm going to do is share the Google Doc and put the link in the description of my videos so that anybody that's interested can go look at the Google Doc and see my prices so they don't have to be shocked. What? He's doing that for free? Oh my gosh. There are a few things I am doing for free. I don't consider it free. I consider it included. That makes sense. Like, since you're already paying me to paint the miniatures, I don't have a problem basing them for you. You know, finishing the bases and texturing and blocking. But if you want me to do like a multi-base, like this artillery base, or a like a black powder base, I actually charge to do multi-basing. Currently, I'm charging $1. So a battalion of 6 bases, they only get charged $6. I'm not $1. $1 per base, so $6. I consider that cheap because of the glue, the flock, the texture paste, Grabbing these because I know I'm not painting them this black color. I've already painted all of them. And them. And there's one guy here with a Shaco. Well, they have Shacos. The other ones all have covers. That's what I meant. Now, I do want to paint their brims on the Shaco covered Shacos. But I don't want to paint it with this giant brush because that's a small item. So we'll go back over those with a smaller brush. Where are the other bearskins? There they are. Okay, there's 2 bearskins here, so figured I'd knock this stick out because I only have to do 6 models. Now I've looked at this rubber black after it dries. It does dry with a little bit of a gray grit to it, right? But it's not enough for me to think tire. Probably would be okay as a tire base coating if I was planning on going over it with some other highlights like on the treads and stuff. But I normally don't do that. Normally I just paint tire and then let whatever wash I do darken it up, because that tire is more kind of like a brown black. I don't know, it's different. Yeah, the Vallejo one I like better than the AK, but I can see where this would be considered a tire rubber. It just depends on what you're looking for. Maybe I should say this tire black kind of simulates a new tire, where this tire black, okay, this is black rubber. That's tire black. The tire black looks more like a tire that's been out in the field, ran through some mud and some dirt and some highways or whatever. Where this rubber black, it's like brand new tire off the rack. But as a black felt, it works really well. Happy I picked it up. I don't like using pure black on anything really. Sometimes I'll use a pure black, but it'd be very rare. Okay. All right, I'm hearing the mail go by, so I got it out there just in time. I'm not expecting any. Okay, I lied. I was going to say I'm not expecting any packages, but actually I am. I mentioned earlier about a heater. Um, yeah, the YouTube ads, they got me. I was watching a YouTube video, and then an ad popped up for an electric heater, and I was like, oh, I'm going to buy my wife that. He made a comment to me uh, the other day. I don't know if you are familiar with what the SCA is, but she's very active in the Society for Creative Anachronisms. Um, and they're having an event, which is a merchant event where all these merchants go and sell their wares. So it's kind of like a flea market event. And she's going to go, and she said it's an open air pavilion, you know, like a roof but no walls. And they have all these stalls, kind of like horse stalls. And they're going to give one stall per merchant. And then you can set up inside and sell your wares, set up your table and stuff like that. And normally they have it indoors because they have it in like January. And it's going to be freezing outside. And with this being an open air stall, it's going to be freezing. And but they have electrical outlets. So I said, oh, okay. Maybe if she had this electric heater, she could plug it in, put it under her chair or under her table or whatever. Keep herself warm. And when I went to order it, they said if you ordered a second one, you would get 20% off. The second one. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So I ordered 2 of them. And I was planning on only ordering 1. But that second one, I'm going to put under my table. Right here, this computer desk. And when it gets cold, because today it's not cold, it's actually a very comfortable day. Probably 50 degrees outside, which is rare. Isn't it December? I guess it doesn't really get cold until January. and then it gets super cold in February. That's the way it is here in Tennessee. And sometimes it snows in December and sometimes it snows in January. I don't know if you hear that, but it sounds like a leaf blower. Somebody's out there blowing some leaves around. So yeah, by January I'm gonna have this little heater that I'm gonna. Now I've thought about this. I can put figures by the heater to get the like glue or paint to dry faster. But I'm not going to go out of my way to do that. Right now, I've got my wife and my son. I've got their presents. Now I have a stepson that's coming to visit over the Christmas holidays. I probably should get him something. Normally I don't because he lives like in Arizona and I don't send anything over there. I have no idea what he would want or what he would need. Could be generic and give him like an Amazon gift card or something. Buy whatever he wants. See, my wife had her with a previous husband, and by the time I came into the picture, he was already a teenager, and I didn't really have a whole lot of time with him. Wait a second. There's a piece of metal that needs to be cleaned up on this guy. Oh my gosh, there is. Okay. There was a little piece of metal that was tucked up underneath his bike horn. Gone now. Now my stomach is telling me it's almost time for lunch. Getting a little hungry. Now he went to culinary school, became a chef, worked in Nashville for a while, as the head chef at some hotel, I think. Um, for a few years. But then he moved to Arizona, and I pretty much lost track of like what he's up to. I could get him like culinary knife set, like a chef's knife set. But he probably already has one of those, or the one he likes. Get him a bomber jacket. But I'm thinking if he lives in Arizona, he probably doesn't need that. Not really into sports or anything like that, so. I mean, he used to be, this was a long time ago, used to be into Magic or Pokemon or something. I think he's grown out of that. Considered maybe a laptop. Everybody loves a laptop. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get him. I want to get him something, but I don't know what. Now, I thought I was going to be doing red collars and cuffs. Start the day. I've kind of decided to do their shakos and their hats and work top down. Yeah, the collars and cuffs are probably going to be the next thing. It's probably going to be the thing I do off camera. So when I got up this morning, when I was rolling out of bed, I was saying to myself, I'm going to grab some of my Napoleonic figures and I'm going to cut their bases off and put them on 40 by 20s because I want to do that for my Napoleonic rules that I'm writing. But then I slapped myself in the head and I said, no, no. Paint the commission. Continue to paint the commission. Get that finished. Stop getting distracted. Stop doing what you want to do. Do what you're getting paid to do. And I was like, okay, Derek, I'll hunker down and get this commission done. So that was me arguing with myself about self-control and my commitment. I also told myself, I told myself yesterday, or maybe the day before yesterday, that I really don't want to rebase any figures until I play tested some concepts with both basing techniques, and then I can make a decision on how I want to proceed in basing. And but I do need a couple of units based like that so that I can playtest them. So that's what I was thinking to myself. I'll just base a couple of units and I can start playtesting the rules how I want to proceed. And I've pretty much decided that I'm not going to put a limitation on how few bases can be in a file. You know, I said a minimum of 2. If at all possible. I'm debating with myself whether or not I want to stick to that. I think I am. So when you're not in combat, you have to have 2 base files. They have to be 2 bases deep or more. Nothing less than 2 bases. But if you get into combat, either shot at or melee, and you lose a base, right? You're obviously, if you started with 2 and you lose a base, you're only going to have 1 in a file. The next opportunity they get to move, or I'm going to do immediately, they have to consolidate. So to abide by that rule, unless they're in melee, and then they don't consolidate until the melee is over. So 2 examples. Let's say I've got a 4 base battalion and I've got them 2 wide by 2 deep. That would be your standard small battalion. 4 bases. And they get shot, and then they lose a base. That's going to make it 2 wide by 2 deep in one file and 1 deep in one file. And so the moment, the instant that that base gets eliminated, that third base that's out there dangling by itself has to be moved to the rear of the other file, making that file 3 bases deep. And then you continue from there. Now is there enough paint here? I don't know if there is. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be well, maybe. Now, if it's melee, let's say you get charged and you go into a melee, and then now you're also 2 bases wide by 2 bases deep, and then you lose a base because of contact. You stay 2 bases wide and 2 bases deep in one file and 1 base deep in another file if you're in contact with the enemy. And as soon as the contact is over, either one unit routes or falls back or is eliminated, then you take, at that point, you take that third base and you put it behind the 2 rank file. But until then, it'll continue fighting as a 1 base file. And I am going to put, now, I thought about allowing players to go with 1 base files and then just giving them penalties for being in a 1 base file in shooting and in melee. And then letting the player decide if they want to go that thin. I'm really leaning towards that, because what will happen is the players will voluntarily, on their own, stay in 2 rank files because they don't want the penalties. So it gives the player a sense of, I'm smart. I'm putting them in 2 files. You know, I'm not getting the minuses. So it gives them a sense of accomplishment, or they're pleased with themselves. And it basically keeps the units and formations that I think would have been or would look like the historical accurate formations. Yeah, I'm not going to have enough paint. So it's like an artificial way to make it mandatory, right? You make it optional, but you give them so many minuses that they just won't ever want to do that. So then they stay in two files or two rank files. So it gives the players agency to decide how they want to deploy and where they want to go. And it's up to them if they want to go single file or uh, single rank file. The only problem that I have with that is the width. I don't want battalions to be single rank files in line, for a total width of 6 bases or 8 bases if it's a large battalion. Even though I'm going to give penalties, there might be an advantage to cover that big of an area with such thin uh, depth. But at that point, I would almost consider them skirmishing. They've spread out so much. So I might have a rule that says maximum width. Width. So they can have single files, but only a certain amount of them. Maybe 4 or 3. 3 or 4. So if I say maximum 4, um, they could go 4 wide, and then a couple of files would have um, a couple of bases behind. That's up to them. Now, and I only say this with like a, that would be like a 6 base battalion, right? It would have 4 across, and then a couple of them would be 2 deep. It would be kind of a formation where the companies would be thin in the middle and then thick on the ends. That's actually a valid French formation. And an 8-figure large battalion could go 2-2-2-2-2 all the way across, or they could go 3 and 3 on the ends. And still only ones across the center, or any combination that the player wants to do. That's what I was thinking. Just letting the players control their figures the way they want. Letting them go as thin as they want. I'm just going to impose a penalty for that, because I want the default to be 2 bases deep. And I also am going to be putting odd unit sizes out on the table as well. So there's going to be some with 3, some with 5, some with 7. You know, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that's all the Shakos, not counting the cavalry Shakos. Here's some bear skins that still need to be done, but I'm not doing it with this rubber black. I'll be doing that with this German gray. You know what I'm going to do? Go ahead and do the German gray right now. Before I go to lunch. That won't be the end of the German gray, because I'll be doing gators with that as well. There is a visible difference. Take a look at these bear skins. Yep, that's another reason why I need to take a break. Not just for lunch, but for my eyes. Now I'm taking this German gray and I'm painting it directly over the top plate, which is going to be red, and the front brass plate or bronze plate or whatever it is, I'll have to look at it. That's on the front of the bearskin. It's like a regimental plate. Because bronze, or I think it's bronze actually. It might be brass. But whatever that plate is on the front will go better on top of this black than it would if it was still white. Now the plume I'm not painting. So it'll be more of a vibrant red once I go to paint it red. Where the red skull cap is actually going to be a little darker now that I've painted it with this German gray. It's going to dull it down. So it's going to be more, what's the color? Dark. I could use a different red. I could have used a different red on the top cap or skull cap or whatever. But I don't think I'm going to need to do that now. Should have 10 bear skins. These 8 plus 2 more on one of the other sticks. I'm just racking my brain, like, what am I going to eat for lunch? Got some noodles. Got some stew. Actually, I have some pasta in there. I don't think I'm going to eat that, though. My wife doesn't understand portions, I guess is the word. She makes this huge pot of noodles, pasta, and puts a normal amount of spaghetti sauce in it. So you're looking at like a 2-to-1 noodles to spaghetti sauce portions. She thinks she's making the noodles go farther by creating more noodles. But what's happening is you're not getting any spaghetti sauce. It's like very little spaghetti sauce per noodle. So the spaghetti is very dry. I don't think she understands that. And so what winds up happening is my son and I, we, like when it's new and not a leftover, we grab some noodles And then we scoop up all the spaghetti sauce. And then what winds up happening is you've got this big portion of noodles with very little spaghetti sauce. I mean, very little. And then she saves it for leftovers, and it's never going to get eaten because there's no spaghetti sauce. It's just straight noodles. So I think what I need to do is sit her down and explain this to her. Maybe using an easel with some diagrams. No, I don't know. I can just tell her. I can just say, you know, we got these noodles in the fridge, right? They're leftovers. They're never going to get eaten. And this is why. What you need to do going forward is using less noodles, so there's no noodle leftovers, or use more tomato sauce so that the leftover noodles have spaghetti sauce. Because nobody wants to eat a dry noodle. That's what I think, anyway. That's where I'm coming from. I don't know if Alex, my son, he's coming from the same spot or not, but I've been looking at those noodles in the fridge for a week now. I don't think anybody's touched them. Well, for one thing, that's just pure carbs, which I don't mind, but I got to get some protein with it, you know? And it makes it taste better if you got the tomato sauce with it. You know, who likes to eat spaghetti that's just straight spaghetti? There might be somebody out there. And these aren't spaghetti. This isn't spaghetti. This is actually like bow ties or whatever they call those things. It's pasta. Okay, so all the bear skins are done. Okay. Now, in the palette, the rubber black and the German gray are definitely, obviously, it's a little bit lighter than that. But on the figure, that bearskin doesn't look any lighter than that Shaco. It looks very similar. Maybe it's got a little bit. It's almost, to me, it's almost not worth worrying about using a different color because they look exactly the same. Yeah, I don't think it's worth going to the effort of switching your paint. They look the same. So rubber black and German gray on the figure looks the same. So I might consider going one shade lighter for the Gators because I want them to be visibly lighter. Okay, German tanker uniform. Necromancer's cloak. I was using Necromancer's cloak as German uniform or German gray. So I don't really think there. Oh, okay, maybe there is. Okay, we might have to experiment with the Necromancer cloak when I do the Gators. Alright guys, well that's where we're going to end today's episode, and I will be back tomorrow again. Hopefully I'll be a lot closer to finishing these tomorrow. I am going to be continuing these after lunch, just not on camera. Dan, I'm working on these for you. We'll get them done. And hopefully I'll get them done this weekend. Maybe not. This customer has another commission for me. It's Polish. I have them on the shelf. And I have another customer that's got some British World War II infantry I have to paint. And those are really the only two commissions I've got left. So if you're interested in commissions, you can always email me. And if it's done before the end of the year, you'll get this year's prices. Because the 1st of January, the prices are changing. And that's empty. All right, well, everybody have a good day. Happy Pearl Harbor Day. And you guys